Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with the next update for my project Eyemageddon. In this project I am rotating through my single eyeshadows. For every eyeshadow I need to use it 10 times and then I'm allowed to roll that out. So I do have a little magnetic palette with singles that I'm currently using. The goal for this month was to roll out every single thing that had been in for 3 months, so since the beginning of the year, and I'll let you know how I did with that as well as the other shadows in this project. But before I jump into that, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. So the palette that I've been working on over the past month looks like this. So you can see all the shadows right there. My kind of setup for the palette here is basically these first 2 rows of round singles, shimmer shadows, and then the 3 bottom ones are mattes. And that's kind of the setup I want. And on the side I do have 3 clear eyeshadows because that's the only way I can fit this many eyeshadows in the palette. So other than that, I don't really have too many set rules of what goes in here. I do try to have one iridescent shadow at any point in time, and that usually goes in this spot right here. But you know, I might switch it up later in the year, but the 3 mattes at the bottom and 3 clear eyeshadows here are set for every month. So I'm gonna go through each eyeshadow in order, and we're gonna start with the first one up in the corner here, which is Half Moon from Terra Moons. And Half Moon is actually one of those shadows that have been in for 3 months at this point. And previous to this month I had only used it 3 times. I used it once the first month and then 2 times the second month, and then I had 7 uses left for the 10 use goal. And I am happy to say that I actually did use it 7 times, so this will be rolling out. I used this one for the last time yesterday, and yeah, I'm very excited for it. I actually really do like this eyeshadow. It's a very kind of, it's like a sparkly blue to kind of purple shadow. It has like some green to it, some aqua I would say, and like a bluish purple. And I've loved topping this on top of green shadows to create more of a mint shadow, on top of other things too, but that's kind of how I used it in the past month. And yeah, I really like this eyeshadow. It's relatively neutral even though it is a colorful shadow, and this one will be rolling out. I have removed Half Moon because it's rolling out, but next to that we have the shade Sunlight, which is from the Pastel Roses. This eyeshadow here rolled in last month, and I have only used it 3 times this past month, so it's staying in. In the look that I have today, I actually used a lot of the eyeshadows in this palette. I've been seeing on Instagram a lot of people doing like almost like watercolor with different iridescent shadows and different like sparkly eyeshadows. So that's kind of what I did today. I don't know how well you can pick it up on camera, but I used every single shadow in here apart from, I think Half Moon I didn't use because I already hit my goal on that one. And then I used this matte down here, but I did not use these 2. So I used majority of this palette today in the look, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it's very ethereal, very pretty, and very sparkly, so I love that. But I have used Sunlight 3 times. Next to that we also have a shadow from the Pastel Roses. This is the shadow Galaxy Dust. It's a warm tone purple, as you might be able to see, but it goes into like a blue and then almost like a green shift as well. It's really stunning. Yeah, I won't swatch everything, but I don't know if you can pick it up there. It's super pretty. I really like it. However, I've only used this one twice in the past month, once today, and I have this one kind of tapped up here. So if you can see some purple there, that's the eyeshadow on my eyes. Moving on to the iridescent shadow here, this one is also from Terra Moons, and it's the shadow Sublunar. I rolled that one in also last month, and I have used this one 4 times, so I'm doing okay with it. With iridescents before, I've usually been able to roll them out in 1 month's time. However, I haven't been going for that many kind of orangey reddish tones looks, because this one has like a reddy toned or like a pinky tone red shift going into like an orange, a yellow, a green, and it's very sparkly, very pretty. I have this one on my inner corner today, layered on over something else, but it's super flaky, super metallic, and it's a nice shadow, but I haven't been gravitating towards those looks. But that is the shadow Sublunar. Moving on to the center here, we have another eyeshadow that has been in for 3 months, and this one is from Glam Shop, and it's the shadow Sorsa. The next one to it has also been in for 3 months actually, and it's also from Glam Shop in the shade By Your Hollow. But let's talk about Sorsa first. So previously I had used this one 3 times. I had used it once in the first month and 2 times in the second month, so I had 7 more uses to go. But again, I am happy to say that I have actually hit my goal. I used this one for the last time today for a total of 10 uses, and I actually have a pretty decent dip in this eyeshadow now. I mean, it's not like I'm close to hitting pan, but it definitely looks used, which is really nice to see. This one has like a kind of purpley lavender base going into like a green shift, and then also like a blue shift. It's really stunning. It's maybe not as sparkly as some of the other shadows in this palette, but it's still very nice. And like the base isn't too pigmented. If you build it up, you can see the purple, but you can easily tap this over other things, and mainly that green to blue shift shows up. And it's kind of like a warm tone green. I really do like this eyeshadow, but it will be rolling out. And then, like I said, we had the shade By Your Hollow, which is this one here. And this one I had used 2 times previously, also been in, like I said, for 3 months. And I had used this once the first month, once the second month, so I had 8 more uses to go. And again, I'm happy to say that I have reached my goal on this eyeshadow. I did actually try in the past month to use it more of a top eyeshadow, and I love it that way, because before I had mainly thought of this as like a all over very impactful holographic kind of eyeshadow where you use it as like the main focus on the look, but I don't go for very like silver eyeshadow looks very often, which is why it was hard for me to reach for. But I mentioned in my last update that I wanted to try this as top eyeshadow, and it works wonderfully for that, and that's how I was able to use it 8 times in the past month. But yeah, again, this one will be rolling out. So let's move on to the matte shadows here, which are in this case all from Sydney Grace. First we have the shadow Peyton's Puppy, then we have Picking Peaches, and lastly Haystack. The first 2 have been in for 2 months now, but let's start with Peyton's Puppy. That one I had used 5 times in the first month, and I'm happy to say that I reached for it 5 additional times this month. So even though I had not been in for 3 months, but rather 2, I was still able to reach my goal on this one, so it will also be rolling out. I mean, I have used this one 10 times, and you can barely tell. This is the thing with Sydney Grace eyeshadows. Like, they're so pigmented and tightly pressed. I mean, they're very buildable, so you can get a really sheer amount of color, but even if you dig into it and build up the color, like, you can't even tell because they're so firmly pressed. But yeah, I really like this formula. However, they would be an absolute pain to pan. So that is the shadow again, Peyton's Puppy, and it will be rolling out. Next to that we have the other kind of peachy color, which is what I have creased today, and that is the shadow Picking Peaches. I had used this one 4 times in the first month, and I have reached for it 2 additional times this past month. I feel like this is one that I could have reached my goal on, but yeah, I kind of forgot about it. I reached for other tones rather than these peachy ones. And yeah, I just didn't get a chance to roll it out, but I have reached for 2 additional times for a total of 6, so hopefully I can reach that goal next month. And then lastly on the mask we have the shade Haystack, which I have also used twice. That one rolled in last month, so I have 8 more uses to go. Yeah, I think I haven't been gravitated into those kind of warmer tone looks, but I think I should be able to reach for this one more, hopefully, especially because I'm panning a couple of orange shadows, which, well, like at least one pretty orange shadow and like a peachy shadow. But yeah, I'm planning more shadows to go with this one now, so hopefully I can get some more use out of this one next month. Moving on to my clear on eyeshadows right here. The first one here has been in for 3 months, and then the other 2 I rolled in last month. So the first one, which is Lapis Lazuli, hadn't been in for 3 months, so that was another goal to get out. And previously I actually had only used this one once. The first month it was in, I did not use it at all, and then the second time, or the second month it was in, I used it once. So really not very good with this one. It's just a hard shadow for me to reach for, because I don't reach for like these type of blue purples very often, because it's like one of their deep iridescent eyeshadows, which goes from like this kind of blue as you can see there to like a purple, which I'm not sure you'll be able to pick up, and then it has like almost taupey base as well, like a very far shift is like a taupey shadow, so it goes from like a blue to a purple to a pinky purple, and then like that taupey shadow. And it is a stunning eyeshadow, but again, I just haven't been going for these type of shades, and they're not really my vibe, if I'm being honest. But I was able to reach for this one the 9 additional times. You probably can't tell too much. It looks a little bit more used, but I mainly used this on my lower lash line. I think I used it all over my lid maybe twice, or maybe once, and then I used it like on my outer corner a handful of times, but then mainly I think at least like the 5 or 6 uses out of the month I did use it on my lower lash line. So I used a very little amount, but I just wanted to get this one out, and it's now rolling out, which is kind of exciting. Again, it's not one of my favorite shadows from Cleona or in my collection, but obviously I am kind of collecting Cleona, or I'm holding on. I have all of the shadows basically, apart from like the last couple of releases. There's like 2 shadows that have been released from a new line that I do not have, but everything else I do have. So I'm not gonna let go of this one, and I'm sure I will use it every now and then, but it's not a favorite. And then the last 2 eyeshadows, we have the shade Yellow and then Citron. And these 2 I have actually used twice each, so they will be staying in. You can see kind of the shifts right there, but yeah, those will be staying in. And that means that this is what my palette looks like now. These are the eyeshadows that are staying in. So let's discuss what I'm rolling in to fill this palette up again. So let's start with the kind of shimmer shadows, I guess the typical, not Cleona, but like the other shimmer shadows. The first one I'm rolling in is from Terra Moons, and this is a kind of yellow to blue and purple shift, or blue and pink shift, and it's this one right here. So you can see the yellow base right there, and then it has like that blue shift, which you can probably see on camera, and then it goes into like a pinky purple as well. And this is the shadow Lightspeed. I will go ahead and swatch the new roll-ins for you. It's a beautiful eyeshadow, and I think it's going to be fun to play with now for kind of spring, which is why I want to roll it in. But yeah, that is the first eyeshadow I'm adding to the palette. And there you have Lightspeed, so you can maybe see that yellow base and then that strong blue shift in it. It's quite interesting, and then at the very end, like I said, it has like that pink shift. And a lot of times kind of duochrome yellow shadows have like a pink shift only, but this one has like the strongest blue shift and then a little bit of that pink as well on the very end, like I said. But that is the first eyeshadow I'm adding. The next eyeshadow that I'm adding in is also from Terra Moons, and that is another one of those kind of flakier eyeshadows similar to Sublunar. I think Sublunar and this one actually might have a similar shift. Yeah, I think they do, but this one has a very strong base as well, and that is the eyeshadow Flare Star, which you can see is this pink shadow here. So it is that pink with like a reddish pinky shift that goes into like an orange shift and then a yellow shift, similar to that Sublunar shadow that I talked about before. So I'm excited to play around with this one. I love these kind of sparkly shadows from Terra Moons, and it's again kind of bright shadow, which I think is going to be really nice for spring, and that's kind of the theme of everything that I'm bringing in. And there you have Flare Star, so you can see it's a beautiful kind of sparkly eyeshadow. I really like that one. It is also very shifty. I don't think you can pick it up on camera, but it is very, very shifty. Sometimes it can show up a little bit better if I show it back here. I think you can see the orange shift at least if I show you back here. But yeah, it's a beautiful eyeshadow. Then lastly, for those like shimmer round shadows, we are bringing in something from the Pastel Roses, and the shadow that I'm bringing in is one that I have been wanting to play around with for ages, and that is the shadow Prism, which looks like this. So it is like a purple kind of bluish base, and then it has like a greenish shift, and then also like a purplish shift. Again, I don't think you can. I'm gonna swatch it out. I think that's gonna show it better. And then yeah, it has like a teal shift as well. It's very stunning. In a way, it kind of gives me a little bit of similar vibes to Yellow, which is currently in the palette, but it's more kind of purplish, so it's more kind of a pastel-y kind of color. So that is it right there. So you can see that purple to gold shift, I think, on camera. But yeah, if I show you back here, maybe you will see a little bit more of the shifts. I'm not sure if you can pick it up, but that is the next shadow, which is again Prism from the Pastel Roses. For the matte I'm bringing in, I am actually not bringing in Sydney Race this time because I wanted to play around with something else for my collection. This is a bit of an older eyeshadow in my collection, but it's one that I think is going to work really nicely for spring, and that is the shade Hopscotch from, what's it called? The Makeup Geek, and it's this shadow here. So you can see it's like a lavender kind of purple shadow. It has a little bit of warm tone to it, like a little, it's not super cool toned, but it's also kind of more of a, I would say like a neutral purple. Yeah, I think it's going to be quite nice to play with, and it gives me very much like Easter vibes, and you can see the swatch of it down there. I think all of these eyeshadows are very much Easter or spring, and I'm excited to play around with them. So that is the next eyeshadow. And then lastly, we actually have only one more shadow to talk about, which is one of my Cleona eyeshadows to replace Lapis Lazuli, and that is this shadow here, which is Chandelier from Cleona. This one is quite a light one, and it kind of can operate quite easily as an iridescent shadow, but it does have a little bit of a sandy base. It's actually one of the glitter multi-chromes, not the iridescent multi-chromes. And this one looks like this. You can see it has like a green shift right there, and then it also has like a teal shift going into pink shift, and it has that sandy base. Again, I'm not sure if you can pick up any more of this shift if I hold my hand back here. Sometimes again you can, but yeah, I'm not sure. So that is the next shadow that I'm rolling in. I think it's going to be quite an easy one to reach for, and it's a Cleon eyeshadow that I've had for a very long time. It was part of the first round of Cleon eyeshadows that I picked up, but I haven't reached for it in quite a while, so I do want to play around with it more. So those are the 5 eyeshadows that I'm bringing into the project, and this is what my palette looks like now. I definitely think it's more kind of spring toned, very kind of colorful, which I'm very excited about. And yeah, it's gonna be fun to play around with this one. Thinking about goals for next month, like what I can roll out, I'm gonna try to roll out like maybe 3 shadows minimum. I'm gonna focus on rolling out this shadow here, because I already have, is it 6 uses on it? I think so. I also think that iridescent shadow I should be able to roll out, especially if I have Flare Star in, because I can probably pair those two together. I think some of the newer ones that I rolled in, for example Chandelier, or this one which was Lightspeed, those two are hopefully going to be quite easy to reach for as well, so I might be able to roll those out, we'll see. And also this one here, which was Sunlight from the Pastel Roses, is also one of the kind of easier shadows to reach for. So we'll see how I do. I'm just going to see what kind of looks I feel up for, what else I'm panning, but that is going to be the palette for the next month. So that is it for today, you guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're doing something similar, if you haven't even started this project, let me know down below. And otherwise, I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys.